For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, Final Destination Bloodlines is finally out on digital, and I was able to watch this, sixth entry into the Final Destination franchise 14 years after the previous one. And, it's a pretty solid franchise, to be honest with you, because apart from the fourth film, which is absolute garbage, it's a very consistent franchise. The first two films, I think, are probably the most ideal as far as like the tone and the practicality of the deaths go. I think most people will agree that the first two films have the best deaths in this franchise, because even though there are some from the later movies, this one included, that are absolutely insane and gory as hell, they are very ridiculous. But overall, I'm just going to start off by saying that this is a solid entry into this franchise. I really, really enjoyed it. This time we are doing something different. Yes, something different in the Final Destination franchise. That's insane. Obviously, the movie is called Bloodlines, and essentially what's happening here is, instead of like a group of friends or whatever they are, this time death is coming after people who should not have existed. Because the grandmother in this movie, who is like a strange whatever, she evaded death many years ago. And because obviously her family wasn't meant to exist, it's now coming after them one by one. And honestly, I feel like it's safe to say that there are going to be spoilers in this review, of course. Her death was freaking insane. Because she is living Laurie Strode style, in the middle of the woods, in this cabin, although unlike Laurie Strode, it's not a normal cabin, obviously, because this is it's strange because obviously she's trying to evade death, and I understand she doesn't want anyone to come near, but there's a lot of pointy stuff around the house if you are trying to evade death. But regardless, the granddaughter, who is the main character of the movie, Stephanie, goes to visit her, and she just tries to explain, listen, I evaded death all these years ago, it's coming for our family, yada yada yada. But this is where we get into one little nitpick I had about the movie, and that is like them treating death like he's some sort, like he's a character. Especially the way they refer to it as him. I'm like, no. You use it, please. Especially the way the grandmother, obviously the grandmother is meant to, Iris, she's meant to be like sort of cuckoos, but the way she acts, like when she when she redirects the night lamp thing that was burning the rope of the plant, she just like puts her fist up in the air and is like, you tried, but I stopped you. It's very goofy. And I think that's the main issue that I had with this movie, and I know a lot of people did, is it didn't feel as serious as some previous entries, because the third film sort of started it. It wasn't that bad in the third film, but from the fourth film onwards, the franchise sort of became like a parody of itself, and this one especially, I think, more feels like a scary movie interpretation of Final Destination. And I'm not saying the movie's bad, because it's not, but I just really don't know why they've switched tones like so much. But anyway, let's just get to the thing that I was most excited to see in this movie. And no, it's not the accident. No, it's not the deaths. It is the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Todd. And my God, oh man, that broke my heart. My God, it was so sad, because throughout the movie, there's there's a person whose name is JB, or whose initials are JB, and they are trying to figure out who it is. And as soon as they enter the morgue, I go, well, the B could be Bloodworth, but, that's William Bloodworth. So, who could it be? And then I see, then obviously he says, that would be me. William John Bloodworth. And I was like, oh my god, I love Tony Todd so much. Because I just got completely distracted by the whole name thing. I was like, oh man, look how sick he looks. I mean, he doesn't look bad, obviously, but you can tell that this was his sort of. They knew, of course, that this was going to be his final film, his final performance. And I loved how they integrated that into the script. It really was just so sad because you just see how skinny he is. You see how, well, not see, but you can hear in his voice that it's more guttural. He's not as clear as he used to be. And obviously it is heartbreaking, but knowing that he decided to come back despite the situation he was in, I just respect him so much. And I mean, obviously, I respected him enough. As much, I respected him a lot already. But just knowing that he knew that he didn't have much time left and decided, you know what? No, I am going to do one last cameo in the Final Destination movie. I will say my goodbye to the fans, and that just it's very bittersweet. That entire scene is just bittersweet, and you know that bit of dialogue at the end when he like grabs his box and he's leaving. I can tell that they definitely didn't give him a script there. That was 100% improv. I guarantee it. Just the way he says things, like I'm going to, enjoy the time I have left because, you don't know when you're going to go, and I suggest you do the same. And my God, oh my God, there were tears falling. There really, really were. So, yeah, just everything about that scene was fantastic. But, moving away from bawling my eyes out, the fact that they explained who he was, oh my God. As soon as he said that Ira saved his life, I literally just jumped forward and was like, "No way!" And I was so shocked because obviously we didn't see what happened to the kid. We didn't see. We just saw Iris stop everyone from, dancing on the dance floor, and then that was it. And I was so just fascinated by this because obviously Iris staying in that house, staying at that like safe house or whatever you want to call it, she wasn't just protecting her family, she was protecting him as well. And that's just heartbreaking. It really, really is. So, yeah. Also, the fact that they made his character sick, that really, really hit. It's like in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where people were really upset that T'Challa was killed. Well, not killed, but he died because of a disease. They didn't specify, obviously, but it still hit really close to home. And I thought that entire thing was just genius. So, yeah, that's enough of me gushing about about Tony Todd. Let me just speak about the characters. So, Stephanie is all right. It's a Final Destination movie. No one is really that interested in the characters. I honestly thought it was going to be solid from the fact that like no one in her family sort of acknowledges her. I think her aunt and uncle are the only ones who seem like genuinely happy, and her dad, to see her. Everyone else just doesn't give a shit. So there was that. She was kind of okay throughout the movie. She basically, she wasn't horrible. She wasn't like a Final Destination 4 level character, but still could have been better. Her younger brother Charlie was played by Junior from Chucky, and man, this dude loves his funerals, eh? But yeah, he was sort of when we started off, I was really pissed off. I think most people were because we're so sick of seeing these like moody young teens who just don't want to be involved with their families and stuff like that. But the way that they explain it, of him being like really annoyed and angry with his sister because obviously she hasn't really been there for them. I thought it made complete sense. I was very, very happy that they explained it in that way to where it is justifiable. So there was that. And then everyone else is just sort of nothing. The only character who I've seen get a lot of praise, and honestly, fair enough, is, I believe his name is Eric, the tattoo guy, because he is pretty funny. And he, genuinely cared about his brother. I think his brother's name was Bobby. I will not remember that in like 2 days' time, but I'm glad that I remember it now. So he was a standout, definitely. But I will be honest with you, and this honestly may be the casting, whoever was in charge of the casting, but them choosing Eric, of all people, to not be the uncle's biological son is a stupid ass decision, because the actor that plays Eric and the actor that plays the uncle genuinely look like they could be father and son in real life. So what that was like amazing casting, because I saw that and I was like, oh my god, that casting is great. He genuinely looks like his son. And then they pulled the twist of, wait, actually he's not really his son. So that was something, to be honest. But really, apart from that, the characters are just sort of a bunch of meatbags, and really, let me get on to that. So, the accident of the movie, as I said, was a sort of like a high, not really a high rise, but a in the sky restaurant. Now, I am going to sort of be in the minority here because I have actually been in one of these things before. Obviously, not as tall as the one in the movie, but there is a restaurant near me called the Roma. And essentially, what it is yes, it's like this, except the top of the building, the restaurant part, rotates. So you can literally see all around the city. So that is really cool. And the one in the movie, this it was good. It was good. I liked how they like the elevator scene. I think is probably my favorite part of it, just because you really did feel that. Oh my god! Like I felt my lungs collapsing there, because I'm one of those people who is scared of heights. But oh my god, I don't even want to imagine being in that lift. My god! But the CGI, it's too clean. I think it's too glossy. Well, not glossy. It is just too clean. It sort of looks like a video game, and especially in this premonition scene, I'm not really sure why, but they do this weird like fisheye thing where it'll focus on like the thing in the middle, and then everything else sort of like gets stretched out. I don't know what it is or why they were doing it, but it looked really strange. But easily, easily one of my least favorite things about this movie are the deaths. I think that this is probably one of the weakest Final Destination movies as far as the deaths go. And I know that general, like casual fans watching this would be like, "What do you mean? There were so many awesome scenes, like when that guy got crushed by the elevator in the premonition, and when the spring went through the guy's head, like, oh my god, that's awesome." No, no, it was like a gasp, but the CGI, every single death in this movie is just computer generated rubbish. Okay, I say rubbish. It's not rubbish, but I'm tired of this. Final Destination 3 started it with the roller coaster. The roller coaster obviously is a very quick thing. It's a very quick motion. So of course you have to CGI people in there. And the way that people were falling, it looked ridiculous. But even when someone like got chopped in half, the body that they show is practical. So really, FD3 was sort of the beginning of the downfall of the Final Destination deaths, because that's where the CGI sort of started leaking in. Final Destination 4 just went all out with this. It was absolutely god awful. The 3D didn't really help. Final Destination 5, I believe, had more practical effects. If it was CGI, it was very good CGI. But still, Final Destination Bloodlines has way too much CGI. There are too many times here where people just burst into like bags of blood and guts. Like the guy that I just said about in the premonition, the guy that gets crushed by the elevator. He literally is like half his body is under the elevator, but his legs bend the other way like he's a freaking origami thing, and then he gets split in half somehow. His intestines fall out, and it looks so stupid. So I absolutely hated that. The entire I think the premonition sequence is probably the worst one, because that is where you are meant to feel the most scared, because the premonitions of these movies are what are meant to traumatize you. But here, everything looked so bad. Well, okay, it's not that it was so bad. It's just the fact that you can tell that it's CGI. Like that woman that gets lit on fire. That I was like, oh my god, really? A stunt double? Nope. 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 CGI fire. Oh my god. Even the building itself collapsed. Why? Why did the building collapse? Like, I can understand the fire, it was burning everything. The bolts started coming loose. So the restaurant itself, I could understand that falling apart. Why did the tower part start falling? It doesn't make any sense. I know I shouldn't be complaining about things not making sense in a Final Destination movie, but these movies are meant to be somewhat realistic and logical. Even though, Death is literally the villain, which hate how they treat Death like he's an actual villain in this movie. They're like, he's gonna make his move. Oh my god, Death is after us. He's coming. Oh my god, it's so fucking stupid. But yes, like the worst thing about this movie, I think, are the deaths, because you have some deaths here which would be so awesome if they were practical. Like, okay, let's get to the main ones. So the first one to die is the uncle. The uncle gets a piece of glass through the foot. That, completely understandable. That's believable. I enjoyed that. Then the next one. I don't know, Julia, whatever the frick her name was. She gets hit in the head by a soccer ball, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. She gets thrown like a freaking, like, I don't know, like an actual soccer ball. She gets bounced like an actual soccer ball into a bin, and it looks so ridiculous. And then when she's trying to get pulled out of the garbage truck, her head gets squished, and obviously I can somewhat understand this being CGI, because practical heads don't always look the best. I can't believe I have to compare a movie from 2025 to this, but I was watching Terminator like 2 weeks ago, and obviously when it is like when they're showing the robotic eye of the Terminator, obviously you can't do that with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so they had to, of course, make a practical head. And the practical head just looked so bad. But, I mean, it was the 80s, so, there it's forgivable, because that was a long time ago, and it was good for its time. Here, what's happening? Like, come on, there was a better way to do this. Honestly, as soon as I saw that, I just immediately thought of Child's Play 3. I hate that movie, but like a garbage truck, I always think of it. Eric, was supposed to die in the tattoo parlor, and it makes sense now why the teaser trailer, which was literally this scene, ended as he sort of fell in the fire. Because as soon as that scene happened and it cut to outside and you're just hearing him scream, I was sitting there being like, an off-screen death in a Final Destination movie? Are you joking? But then we saw he's alive, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Refused to believe that he didn't get burnt at all, but, whatever. Then his actual death, which is the one that has a lot of people talking, and honestly, I can understand it, because I know a lot of people, my sister included, who are terrified of MRI machines. Now, an MRI machine is obviously not that strong. There's a lot of things in this franchise that, don't make sense. Like, in the first one with Todd's death, which is still one of the best deaths in my opinion, you had that magical liquid. But that's Death's work. Here, the MRI machine is like pulling things from the other rooms and everything like that. So obviously MRI machines are not that strong. But anyway, regardless, Eric gets all of his piercings pulled, including his dick one, and then the wheelchair gets pulled, and he, gets stuck, like folded inside the machine, which brutal death. There were so many things I thought of there. I thought of Happy Death Day to You. I thought of Freddy versus Jason when Jason folds that guy in the bed like a sandwich. So that's what I thought of. That death, honestly, while I sat there going, MRI machines are not that strong. Come on. As far as the actual look of it goes, I thought it actually looked quite good. It didn't look as stupid and cartoonish as the other deaths. Then his cousin Bobby, who he tried killing and then bringing back, he gets a spring through the head. This is probably the worst or second worst death of the movie. Actually, no, as far as actual real deaths go, probably the worst one. Because the spring goes through his head and the spring keeps turning. Somehow. And he doesn't fall over. Well, I don't remember him falling over. Why is the spring turning? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. It was such a stupid death. It really was. So yeah, it does suck sitting here and complaining about the deaths in a Final Destination movie. But I gotta be honest. I can't just sit here and be like, oh my God, the movie was amazing. Oh my God, the deaths were so good. I gotta be honest. I have to be honest. So that scene was over. Then we get to the part when it's Charlie, Stephanie, and the mum, who are basically the final ones left. And they decide, you know what? Mum's gonna go stay in the cabin. Mum is gonna go stay in Iris's cabin, and then we will all live. Of course, it doesn't go that way, though. Death had other plans. So that whole thing happens. The mum dies in such a dumb scene. Well, it would have been dumb if it was less predictable, because as soon as they showed the pole, and as soon as the mum came and, like, as soon as they showed her alive, because they show her from afar, and you think, oh my God, she died. But no, as soon as it's revealed she's alive, I go, yep, she's going to help him, and then the sign is going to crush her. Watch. And lo and behold, exactly what happened. I really didn't care, because the deaths, again, are just so goofy and stupid that I just can't take it seriously. You know, it feels, as I said, it feels sort of like a scary movie version of Final Destination. So there was that. Then you have a repeated plot point from Final Destination 2 of them reviving a person who tried to drown. Well, I wouldn't say, well, okay, Stephanie didn't try to drown, but, you know, she was drowning. The only difference is Stephanie isn't as lucky as Kimberly was. So, yeah, there was that. And just overall, the movie sort of tries repeating things, like a lot of things, and there's way too many references. Way too many references to Final Destination 2. I'm sorry. Like, far too many. I understand it's good. It has a great opening sequence. But if you're going to, like, take things from Final Destination 2, take practical effects for the deaths, god damn it. Anyway, so Stephanie and Charlie live, whatever, they go on, and then this freaking coin, dude. This coin is in every single incident. Like, what the hell? It was in the beginning, which I find weird that Iris would have kept that. You know, obviously her getting obsessed with death sort of, you know, makes sense, her being paranoid and stuff, but realistically, why would you keep that coin? So there was that. Then the coin was in the mother's purse or whatever it was, and then that rolled away, and this old woman got it, and it landed on the train tracks. And this is where I was just pissed off, because yes, the character, most of the time in Final Destination movies, the only one is Final Destination 2. Apart from Final Destination 2, which is ironic, every single movie ends with the cast dying. So the first movie, at least, had Carter die. You know, sure, Alex lived, but he went on to die off screen. Clea was the only one that survived there. The second movie, all of our characters, well, not all, but our main characters survived. Final Destination 3, all dead. Final Destination 4, all dead. FD5, all dead. You get to 6. And it is probably one of the worst incidences of this. So you have a train, obviously, on the train tracks, as one should be. And I didn't realize that there were logs on the train because I've never seen a train carry logs before. But anyway, regardless, I saw someone react to this movie and I saw, oh shit, it actually did have logs on it. The logs didn't come out of nowhere. So the train obviously goes off the rails and the two main characters are in front of it. The train stops. Okay, the train stops. And then all of a sudden the logs just come flying out and just squash both Stephanie and Charlie in, once again, a ridiculous looking scene. And then the movie's over. First of all, you could say, oh, well, do you know how long trains are? The logs were probably near the back and there would have been time for it to come forward. It doesn't matter. The train was still for long enough that, you know, the logs wouldn't have been in that position, firstly. It wouldn't have had enough speed. And just overall, it looks stupid because it is a ridiculous looking CGI. Now, obviously, as much as I am complaining, there is no way for them to do that scene, well, that shot, and it'd be practical. There's no way for them to do that. So then, just change the shot. Change it so that you can have it be practical. The deaths just looked so dumb. The blood looked like jelly. Oh my god. It was just so bad. So bad. So, yeah. Look, as much as I've been complaining, I did enjoy the movie. I just sat there through all the deaths going, oh, come on, please, let there be something practical. Oh my god. But yeah, I think that is pretty much everything. So overall, Final Destination Bloodlines is a solid entry into the franchise. It is a decent story, you know, obviously not really any good characters because it's a Final Destination movie, but overall, it's decent. It is good. It's also a very nice goodbye to Tony Todd. So even if you don't like the rest of the movie, Tony Todd's scene should hit you in the feels. Like, if you don't even at least tear up during that scene, then there's something wrong with you. So yeah, I quite enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines. And please, let me know your guys' thoughts on this movie down in the comment section below. Tell me what you thought of the deaths. Tell me what you thought of the accident. And what do you think they should do with a Final Destination 7? Because inevitably, just like with Scream, how it took them, 11 years to make Scream 5, and then literally the next year we got Scream 6. Maybe next year, or 2027, we'll get another Final Destination movie. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that is pretty much it. So please let me know your guys' thoughts on the movie and what you thought of my review down in the comments section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.